What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Coach to Coach podcast. We're shooting the shit. We were getting rolling here a little bit before we actually hit record, and we figured like, hey, we should probably hit record. So we'll just jump right into it. What's going on? Fill us in on where you're at right now. You were saying that you're gonna be needing a whole new wardrobe soon.
Yeah, yeah. Just my weight is up into territories that it's never been. I think my heaviest when like before you and I ever linked up and you were doing my coaching was like 143, and it was like a sloppy, like fatty 143, and I'm coming up on the 150s now, and yeah, I'm feeling big. It's not I'm not feeling the way that I did when I was my 143 mark. Body composition is better. I don't feel slow. I don't feel, oversized, bloated, anything like that. I don't feel sloppy. So, yeah, I've got like two or three pairs of like nice pants that currently fit me right now. So yeah, I was doing a little shopping around yesterday. I was just like, damn, like, and I'm gonna need more. Hopefully, like if we start getting closer to the 155s, 160s and stuff. So, but
I
yeah,
mean,
that's just
you're dreaming too small, dude. You can
well.
go wherever
I'm
you
just
want,
saying,
man.
like, I'm
You have no
I'm just
reference
I'm
point
just in
for it,
a
you know.
yeah. I'm just in a happy to be here state of mind right now because I've never been this heavy, and I always wanted to be able to hit this weight and above. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
so
no, ideally we get the 170s going. So
yeah, you were one the first day the very first weight that you have reported was 138.
yeah,
So for
yeah,
some reason I thought that you were heavier than that. But yeah, the very first day. And so something that's interesting, how tall are you, Joe?
like 5'6", 5'7" on a good day if I stretch and ate
Something
my
that's
Wheaties.
really interesting is like you don't really look like because I guess objectively, 138, 140, 150, that is light. Like I think objectively, like we can say that that is light. You don't necessarily look like you weigh that. You look like you would weigh more.
Yeah, and I always kind of thought that too, and I think like most people thought that as well. So I got that's a good thing, Like if people think that I'm that I'm bigger, that I'm heavier, cool.
Yeah, yeah. And I have kind of the opposite deal where I feel like I weigh heavier than I look. And I would much rather be in your case, in your shoes and actually the opposite,
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, yeah, I always just thought that I looked heavier, and I feel like my weight should be higher than what it is, and it was always a grind for me to get up into that, like like we had just talked about the 138s to the 143s, and it was just never like a good feeling. Like I knew I needed to put on size. I wanted to put on size, but it was just, I was like just chubby.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, a lot of that is down to training. I think a lot of it is just down to overall structure. If it's easy to like, okay, I'm hitting my macros and are you even hitting your macros? But like, okay, I'm hitting my macros but like the total calories, total macros, like I think that is the thing that matters the most. But if you're looking to get the most juice out of the squeeze, like you want to get your body into a good rhythm. You want to get your body into a good rhythm and have some good structure with your food, with your meals. And when you get into that kind of routine, I think the body, like, it just thrives in that environment for sure.
Yeah. I remember, yeah, I remember around that time, like seriously trying to put size on. I was throwing, I don't know how many scoops of like the bulk powder in a gallon of water, like
You mean like
right
a
before.
mass gainer?
Yeah, yeah, like the GNC ones or like the Optimum Nutrition ones. And I was throwing it in a gallon of water and just like chugging that before bed, and it was like it was miserable. Like it literally was miserable. But yeah, that's what I was doing at that time, and I really had no. There was no like I thought that I was training hard. I think that everyone thinks they're training hard, but just wasn't, and it showed in my look. So
Yeah, sometimes you gotta have and like somebody to tell you, like putting an eye on you, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
because everybody thinks that they're training. Same thing for me. The same thing is absolutely the truth for me. So, okay, I am trying to get these photos lined up. Joe Recent. Let me see here. Let me see.
Yeah, actually, yeah. While you're doing that, it's fun because I'm still getting like memories on my phone of photos and Snapchats and stuff like that. And there was times, dude, my face, I looked fat. Like I could see it in my face. It was crazy. And then yeah, like while we would do some of our like while we were cutting and stuff after being with you for a while, I just looked so small in the face. Like I just looked small. Like, because we were getting down pretty low. Some of the I just don't recognize myself in some of the photos because I have both super skinny and chubby looking. So
That's something that I really don't know that I've totally figured out with you because we went through a cut and we were dry. I think we got your body weight down almost into the 100 teens,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
just wasn't. And it wasn't coming together. You had lost like 20 something pounds or something
yeah,
significant, and it just wasn't coming together. And it just got to the point where it's like, okay, well, we've lost all this weight. I'm not seeing you necessarily get leaner. What's going on? You know what I mean? And so from that point, it was just like, hey, this is not working. You know what I mean? Like, this is
yeah,
just not working. Like, we just need to go the other way. And I think a part of it too was I wasn't, I don't think at that time I was keeping a close eye on your training. So I think a big part of it, and I think I threw this to you not too long ago, was that, your start point, right, was one where you didn't have a huge base of strength in place. And not to say that you're weak, not at all, but you didn't have like some of these big heavy movements in place to kind of have a reference point for if you are, losing strength, gaining strength. And so I'm talking about, like, I guess, make it simple, like a squat, bench, deadlift, and not necessarily a barbell squat, barbell, bench press, but like those sort of movements. Was kind of maybe some more of like the prettier type of movements. And so I almost fancy like or wonder if we went through that fat loss phase, and during that time, just your overall strength was coming down alongside of your body weight, and it just led you to a point where just muscle was that's the only option. That's honestly the only
right,
option. How do you lose that much weight and not end up, being significantly leaner? It has to be that it wasn't just body fat coming off. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And so in hindsight, and this is important for me, I think if I could go back, most times if I have somebody that comes to me and they say they want to get bigger, right? But their body composition is not in a great spot, most times I'm going to say, hey, let's go ahead and run a diet. We're going to run a diet, get you nice and lean. We're going to have a clean slate. And from that point, we're going to, work you back up, right? But in your case, just looking back, I think that the best thing to probably have done, and you can't know this until you go through it, but the best thing to have done would probably have been to just keep you around maintenance calories or maybe just a little bit above, not enough to have you consistently trending up in body weight, but to have spent a good chunk of time just focusing on the training, giving you enough food to recover from the training, enough substrate to be productive, and but not so much that we are driving your body weight up from a point that's already not, you know what I mean, not terrible, but not great as a start point, and instead focused on gaining some sort of recomp effect through the training, through putting muscle on, right? And
yeah,
we couldn't know that until we went through it, you know what I mean? But I think now in hindsight, seeing how all of it played out, that was the right decision. And so I think for some people, like I think that could be a good takeaway. Like if you are not like wildly out of shape, you know what I mean? It might make sense to, if you're just getting into this, because sometimes people get into this and like, should I bulk? Should I cut? I mean, if you're straight up fat, like you should probably get some of that body fat off. But if you are just kind of like average, it might actually make sense to just spend some time keeping your diet around maintenance and really dialing your training in, right, for a period of time, and just kind of build that base up, build that strong base up. And then from that point, the direction you need to go in will be a little bit more clear.
yeah. And I remember initially too, like when you were speaking, game plan. you were like, we're gonna get in and out of this like cleanup phase. It'll be like a week or 2 weeks, and then it ended up going for like months, like however long that first one was. But
Well,
I
it
remember being
would for sure have been more than I probably would have said like 6 weeks or something like that, 4 or 6 weeks. But yeah, short. The
yeah
intention was
short,
short.
yeah, and yeah, it just kept going, and yeah, pretty much what you just detailed was happening. My look wasn't really improving.
Yeah, and so let me pull this up here. Okay, so Riverside, Riverside, what are you doing, Riverside? So you don't see anything up on screen, huh?
Mm-mm.
Doesn't want to do it.
Dang, we can't show my victim wave photos.
Might be able to do it a different way, but it doesn't want to do it. It does. Let me get this all the way in. Let me get this all the way in. All the way in. Stop sharing. Share. And all of this lag time just kills me because I know it's stuff I got to go back in and edit. Now it's just not responding at all. So nothing's happening.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I'll say the next time we do get to a cut, though, I'm really excited. I'm not in any hurry to get to that point because I like being fed and being big. But I've got abs. Like I've got abs like right around the freaking corner, dude. And that's exciting for me to see because one, being up weight and having your abs still kind of or have show, of course, who doesn't love that? But I've never had like a six pack, and like it's closer. Like I'm waking up in the morning, I've got you can see it a little bit. So that's
You
super
are
dope.
absolutely leaner now than you were at start, however many pounds ago that was. 100%. And, I think a big part of that too is just like, just pacing it and not letting. There's been a few points at which I said, hey, if we keep seeing it trend this way, I might want to pull you back. But ultimately, I am if you gain, dude, if you gain something crazy, if you gain like 5 pounds in a week, but the pictures, I can't really tell that you gained 5 pounds in a week. I'll
Right.
be like, okay, well, I'm not going to automatically change it. I'm going to say, okay, well, let's see what next week looks like. Okay. And then if next week you're up another, 3, 4, 5 pounds and it's the same thing. And I'm like, hey, everything looks cool. We'll just keep letting it ride. But if, we have another big jump in weight and then I see like the lower back getting a little bit softer or just like the look starting to change in a negative way, then I'm going to be like, okay, we probably want to pull this back a little bit and kind of try to put a speed bump on it. And there's been a few of those points at which I mentioned, I said, hey, I kind of see a shift in a certain area. We're going to leave it right now. And if it continues across the next week, then, we'll make an adjustment. But ultimately, I don't think we've really had to pull you back, and we've mostly just let it ride. And your rate of gain across, this entire time has been, I don't know, we did the math on it, but it's not been anything crazy. It's been like maybe a pound, little bit less
Yeah.
than a pound per week,
Yeah.
something like that. And I think if you keep yourself in that sort of range where you're not pushing up too much more than a pound per week, even with gear in place, you're going to be in a good spot. You're going to be making sure that you put on some quality tissue, because one thing you have to understand is like, even with gear, you can only build so much muscle in a day, right? And if there's 7 days in a week, if you gain a ton of weight, odds are it's not actually muscle, right? So how much of that weight gain is muscle? How much of it is intracellular fluid? How much of it is extracellular fluid? How much of it is actual body fat that's being put on? That's where the pictures come into place, and having a good read on the pictures. But ultimately, your safest bet is to keep yourself gaining something like 0.5% of your body weight around per week. And there's going to be instances in which it's higher than that, but that is just kind of a safe bet in general.
Yeah, there was a couple weeks there at the beginning where my weight would jump up 3 to 5 ish pounds, and eventually in the following weeks it would taper off. It would be two the next week. At week after that, it'll be one and a half, something like that. So it would always smooth out.
Yep. Hey, I'm going to pause it real quick. I'm going to jump upstairs and turn the AC off. I'll be right back. What are we, 17 minutes in?
Yeah,
17.
it was like 17, like 03,
It
09.
helps me so I don't have to watch everything back. Okay, so we're back. So what are we getting into? What else we got?
I mean, other than that, my sleep is getting better. I can feel that in literally everything. My joints, my energy, like that feels great. You mentioned in one of the older podcasts, it's still pretty recent podcast, but you were talking about your sleep and your schedule, and you had said that your injections would start to feel they would get like lumpy, like when things were kind of out of whack. Why is that? Because when my sleep was trash, I was the way that my injections felt and the way that they were in the days after is like exactly what you were explaining. Like what is there to that? They would hurt a lot more, the soreness would last a lot longer, and there would be like lumps for a little bit longer than usual. But like since my sleep has been better, like pretty much no post injection like pain, like actually doing the injection like doesn't hurt, it doesn't feel the same. I'm just curious in what you've learned and picked up.
So just off the jump, like I don't know, but and I've had, I've had injections start to go south when my sleep was great. So it's not just down to sleep, but for me, the way that I kind of register this or what I found for myself is generally when my body is beat to shit and under recovered, I start getting feedback from my shots where like, I do a shot and that area just starts to lump up. And when I get a string of those, you know what I mean? Because I typically like, when I'm on cycle, I'm going to do several injections a week. It's going to be, at least 3 times per week and oftentimes every day. And so when I get a string of those, right, where everything was great before and now it's starting to lump up, usually I also have other signs going on where I can feel that I am beat up. And I think what it is just my body is not in a place where it's recovering, where it's, I'm not able to clear some of this, low level or systemic inflammation, and it all just kind of accumulates. And, something that I would normally be able to clear in this, this little injection, right? It doesn't, and it gives me that feedback. So that is something that I've picked up on at some point where when that starts happening for me, I know I'm probably, and it never happens early on. It's always weeks into a run. And so and I rotate injection sites too, so I'm not banging the same spot over and over. I'll do left delt, right delt, left glute, right glute, left rear delt, right rear delt, left lat, right lat. Plenty of time between these sites. So it's not that I'm just banging the same spot over and over again. It's something else. But I just kind of use that as feedback as, hey, I'm probably getting about to the end of where this is at, or something dramatically needs to change with what I'm doing, whether that is some sort of a deload, where I pull back on the training, pull back on the output. Something needs to happen because my body is just not fucking happy. But I don't have I don't exactly know. It's just something that I've picked up on over time.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. Ever since you said that, there was that started to happen to me for it was like a week or like a week and a half or something like that, and so yeah, I was just
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, if you look back at it, you'll probably be able to line some stuff up and, say like, okay, well, my sleep during this week was particularly worse, or perhaps, the training just everything felt hard and heavy, or, my energy level. You're probably going to find something that lines up with it, because in our recovery, which kind of like really, if we were to consolidate that or think about when most of that happens, it's when you sleep. You know what I mean? So if the amount of recovery taking place, is being exceeded by the amount of stress or damage or however you want to frame it, you're going to have some systems that start kind of rusting and giving you feedback in that way.
I gotcha. Yeah, what's going on with you though? How have you been? How's your week?
It's going good, going good. I have at present, and I sent this over to you, so I'm going to have you take over the reins again for coaching. And I want it to be more of a collaborative effort rather than like it's just everything all on you. And in most cases, I will yield to whatever you want to do, particularly in this initial phase, like this first kind of like 16, 20 weeks or something like that. But, since early May, I've basically been not really training a whole lot. Like yesterday, I literally just did deadlifts and bench press, just like on a circuit. I would
Okay.
do a set of bench press, immediately go do a set of deads. And I just did that on repeat for like a half hour, just not even really resting between the two, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Today I did a seated row and a lying hamstring curl, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So training has been like really, really weird in that way.
Mm.
And it was, it was brought on. I'm a creature of habit, and this is the thing that hurts me. When I get into a habit and a routine, bro, I'm like butter. Like it's smooth sailing. But when that gets disrupted, man, sometimes it can be hard for me to get it back in order. And so that disruption that happened, there was not much that I could do. Like it was just there wasn't enough time in the day to really do everything that I wanted to do. Something would have to be sacrificed, whether that was time with my son or the business or training, right? And so that's a simple equation. There's a priority list there, and it's training is not at the top of it. As much as I love this, and I hate to say that, but it's just not. You know what I mean? And so now things are back into a pretty good spot with my routine. Like, I've had a couple points in the last 2 weeks where I had like 0 check-ins on the board, and it's like, hell yeah, like I am up to date. And it's just a matter of me like staying up to date from this point, right? Because I was behind for a while. So now I still don't have a good routine in place, and I really, if I'm being honest with myself in regards to training, I can. I can at this point in time, because the pieces of the puzzle are in place. I got a good beat on everything. I can have my training sorted out. But that's where I was like, okay, let me go ahead and get another layer of accountability into place. And that's why I said, hey, Joe, let's get you on board, because as motivated as I am, as much as I love this stuff, coaches need coaches. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing this stuff. At times you need to lean on somebody for a layer of accountability. And that's just kind of what I need at present. So the
Yeah.
game plan though is that I'm going to compete. So I'm putting it out into the world. I'm going to compete in 2027. And how I have this set up is basically I'm going to keep bullshitting. So I just said, hey, I'm going to get Joe in my corner. I'm going to get back and check. I'm going to keep bullshitting through the end of June. Okay. And when I say bullshitting, it's just kind of working out. It's not all bad either with these workouts, because I am doing a lot of exploratory work is kind of what I call it. Like kind of just getting into like a little bit of a flow state, experimenting. When I'm deadlifting and bench pressing, like I'm trying to, okay, well, what does this path feel like? What does it feel like when I arch? What does it feel like when I drive my ribs down? What does it feel like when I'm deadlifting, when I, put my pressure on the inside of my foot, on the outside of my foot, like get my lats, like my traps up. Like I have during this time, because I haven't been so hyper goal focused, it has afforded me the ability to be really experimental with my training and be really variable with my training. And I think a lot of that has breathed new life into my body, where I feel pretty damn good, and I'm itching to go. So it's not been all bad. I've had a lot of time to work on mobility and just kind of getting myself into a good spot. So now it's like, okay, end of June, I'm going to keep bullshitting. The diet is all over the place. My macros generally fall on average, if I run an average for 7 days, about in the same place. Usually like mid to upper 200s on protein. Carbs can be anywhere from upper, like high, just below 400 to 500 grams of carbs, and fats could be anywhere from, I don't know, they've been sitting higher. They've pretty much been over 100 grams of fat, but I've had some weeks where my fats are, on average like 150, which is very high for me. But strangely, I feel pretty good eating higher fats, which is really interesting because I've been low fat for so long. But the calorie intake is pretty much always in the same spot, regardless of what my macros are on a day. So going to keep bullshitting like that through the end of June, just holding my body weight, which is bouncing anywhere from 233 to 236. But then once July hits, that first week in July, I have essentially created a plan for myself, and I'm calling it. I like to do projects. I like to call things projects, or have like a vibe for certain phases or certain things that I'm doing, because it just like I almost want to have like that main character vibe. Like I'm the
Yeah.
main, I'm the fucking main character in the movie, and like this is the mission that we're on. And so this one is called Project All or All. And
I saw that in the drive.
yeah, and so I came up with that because the saying is really it's all or nothing, right? Like it's either all or nothing. And I was thinking, I'm like, well, I actually need this to be all or all. There can't be nothing. It needs to be all on either side. And I say that because this will probably be my last hurrah, you know. As I get older, seeing my son every day, there's just more and more thoughts that pop into my head about, do I really want to keep testing the waters with this? Do I really want to keep dabbling with the super supplements? And health is good now, but like, you play with fire long enough and you'll get burned. You know what I mean? So that is kind of where I'm at. And in order for me to exit this part of my life and feel good about it, I need to be 100% all in. Like it has to be, like I have to look at how many meals in total I'm supposed to be eating across this next year. And I want to hit all those meals. I don't want to have any meals that are not missed. Like, so I need it to be all or all. And that's kind of a high bar to set, but I think that that's what it needs to be for me. I need to have that mindset. And whenever I can kick into that and have that mindset, I know I'll rise to the occasion. So, but yeah, 16 weeks, gonna do a push and try to get my body weight. And I hate to be body weight focused, but I kind of know where I need to get myself to. So somewhere around 250, 250, 255, something like that. So doing that over the course of 16 weeks, and then have a little bit of a clean out period for like 4 to 6 weeks. And then from that point, get into a prep. And I've got all the shows lined up. And so the first warm up show would be in late April. It's like one of the very first shows of the season here in Illinois, at least. And so from that point, my main, what I would like to feel accomplished outside of just checking, the number one is just like if I do it 100%, if I'm all or all and whatever the results are, fantastic. So I will feel great whatever the outcome is, wherever my placings are at. But if I'm being honest with myself, I want it overall. I want to win an overall. And that's just the next logical step for me. I've won a show, I've won my class, so I want to take the whole show. And so if I can nail that, then fantastic, man. Fucking I'm salute and I'm out of this shit.
Yeah.
But I wanna go through several shows. I wanna have a bunch of different peaking experiences underneath my own coaching and your eye, so that I can just jam pack not only like my own personal endeavor or personal goals into this, but jam pack as much experience for my clients and extract as much experience from this process for my clients as I can. And the best way to do that is to, have not just one show and done. It's to stack up a couple of them. So I have, several shows through the year planned, and I want to make a run and just knock them all out and see what I come up with.
Yeah. Yeah. I know like when you sent over that video, I didn't give you like you said if you were down or if you were still interested or if you wanted to, whatever. Yeah, the answer was always yes. I just didn't reply that, but this is going to be like my second time having some control over your coaching and stuff. We had a little stint like at the end of last year, and that was such an eye-opening experience for me because I had never worked with someone like of your shape and or like the like even the routine that you had set up where like everything was going to get covered, everything was going to get done. And on like the mental side of things, like you're my coach, like you're who I go to for answers or if I don't know. So it was new being under that microscope, and I was like nervous that I was gonna like mess something up. There was a couple times where I just felt like I had like low confidence just because I had never been exposed to to how you operate and how you do things. So it was like I would get a little nervous making some of the calls, but you were the whole time you were like just make the call and like I'll get it done and like we'll just see what happens. Like, it's gonna be what it's gonna be and we'll adjust. Um, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. It's potentially a strange dynamic, right? Because, I've what do they call the student now becomes the master, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so it's potentially a strange dynamic, but on my side, I have no anxiety about it whatsoever because I understand that there are many paths to a goal. And if ever I thought that I were or you were getting me way off track, I would just nudge you. You know what I mean? But I understand that the most important thing is to be consistent with a plan. That there are so many ways to go about this. So, and you can get lost in the minutia. Should I peel off 25 grams of carbs, or should I peel off 10 grams of fat, or should I do? There's what is the thing that needs to happen? Do we need to make a change to see the body weight come down? Right? Do we need to get leaner? Okay, well you gotta move some calories around. That's it. There or more cardio has to go on. There are so many different. And then when you put that change into place, get a read on what the response from that was. And if you don't like that response, then you make another call. But ultimately, like the end goal or the end destination is not going to be ruined or made by any single one of those calls. You just have to be paying attention along the way. And so for me now going from being a coach to being a client, like I understand that. I understand that I just need to follow the plan and be consistent with it. If I start injecting my own ideas or doing my own thing without your knowledge, it undermines the entire process and will
right.
almost certainly create a worse outcome. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I told you explicitly. I said, "Hey, you make a call. Don't worry about it being right or wrong. Don't worry. Just literally make a call and then see what happens." And that's what actual coaching is, and why I have no fear about like some of these like chat GPT coaches or the AI coaches or anything like that, because ultimately you in order to be a good coach, like you have to coach what's in front of you. You have to coach week to week and understand you have a big game plan in place, right? But you have to be able to have a good read on what's happening in front of you and just be adaptive and make a call, see what happens, and then go from that point and just keep doing that. Just rinse and repeat over and over and over again.
yeah. Yeah, and I can say like going into this, I'm a lot more confident just because I had we've worked together in the past. I have a pretty good idea of like how things are going to go. But it's interesting because someone of like your shape, the things that you're paying attention to like visually, it's not the same for everyone. Like someone could look at you like your before pictures, like when we started, be like, oh, that dude's in shape. He doesn't like there's nothing that needs to happen there. But then you start to look for the smaller changes that are happening because everything is so like I don't even know how to explain it. I think you know what I'm saying though. Like you're just seeing everything get more diced, more shredded, or the look is getting tighter, and it's not always like as evident in someone who's not of your shape, of course. Like, and so I think this time around I'll have like a better eye, looking for things that we can see are changing throughout the weeks, but. Yeah, like looking at someone looking at you the first time, I didn't really know like what to look for because this is an in shape body, like this is like an elite looking physique. So
Yeah, it's like for like general lifestyle clients, it's a little bit easier because they're maybe at start like just completely out of shape, and then it's like you diet them down and it's like, okay, you got abs, like you're in shape,
right,
like that's what I mean. But that process is, or the end of that process, the end of that road for a lifestyle client is kind of the start for a bodybuilder. You should already have abs. You know what I mean? So it's a whole. I mean, I guess what they say, like there's levels to it. You know what I mean? So now when you're working with somebody that at first glance, maybe you've never done this before. It's like this dude already fucking has abs and lines in his quads. Like what the fuck are we? You know what I mean? But and so that's where you know. And you really would almost have to have gone through the process yourself or been in like real deal bodybuilding to understand
Right.
that, to have gone to a show and say like, oh, this is way different. Like the level of leanness is fucking way different than somebody you might see on IG that looks good in the down lighting, and or that you see at your gym and you're like, oh man, that dude's fucking shredded. Yeah, like that sort of gym leanness, that gym bro, it is not going to cut it when you get on a bodybuilding stage. Every little, softness in your body, every little, ounce of fat, it's all going to be highlighted and exposed because you are on stage in underwear. You know what I
Right.
mean? And the standard that's in place is kind of like you need to be stripped out. Like you need to have lines through your glutes. Like your lower back can't have any softness to it. You got to everything needs to be dialed. And so when you trying to get somebody to that level and you've never really seen it yourself, it can be hard to know, like, do we keep going?
Right.
Is
Right.
there more? You know what I mean? And that's kind of where, I've told you, like, it will at some point need to be a collaborative effort. And because you will ultimately, when we get into, like, say, coming into being stage lean, which you got a good glimpse of that before, in our first go, but ultimately you will be in uncharted water for yourself. So, that's where I'll really kind of rely on you to make sure that I'm not necessarily deteriorating my look. Like if you look
Yeah.
at me and you're like, man, like you just look kind of like skinny and like
Yeah.
just kind of is, you know what I mean? And you'll have a better eye for that, than I will, me looking at myself. So yeah, it'll be good for you. It'll be good for myself, because I've always kind of wanted to have the steering wheel in terms of like coming into a show, and I guess we'll be sharing the steering wheel, but it'll be a great learning experience for yourself, and it's just a positive all around for both parties.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited as hell. I'm gonna be at every show. Was just about to say something I forgot.
Yeah,
Well,
you're
it's okay. Yeah, yeah. No, this is. It's funny because I was trying to make a reel the other day, and I never ended up making it. But basically the sentiment of it was like you have to find ways to like up the ante, like to stack the deck, and like I had been getting an increased. Just some increased attention from people that are like wanting to compete, or like they have competed before, and I'm like, I've never like you just said, like it's uncharted territory for me. And so this opportunity like coming up and stuff, like it's perfect for both, because it is like, I'm up in the ante now. I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna get exposed to new stuff. Like this is, like you said, it's uncharted territory. I'm gonna be able to learn a ton. So it's just super exciting that like that is what was on my mind, and then this opportunity like shows up. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, on that note, like, you're a you're a coach and maybe you haven't had the coaching experience related to like peaking somebody to get on stage, and somebody says like, hey, like, can you do, I want to do a show, can you do this for me? I think it's just important to just say, if you're confident that you can, get them there, but just need to say like, hey, I've never done this before. So if you're willing to, follow the plan, and as long as you follow the plan, like we can take your body wherever we want to take it. But just being upfront and saying, hey, I've never done this before. So, if you're willing to take that leap, then I am. And everybody starts. That's the thing about it, man. Like, on social media, everybody like hems and haws about guys that have done one show. Like, you did one show and now you're a coach. And I think that, yeah, it can be kind of tricky, and it maybe is not the best look. But ultimately, everybody has their first client. Everybody has their first lifestyle client. Everybody has their first, bodybuilding client. We all do. We all did. You can't skip the experience. That's just how it works. And so, you know, I think that like understanding that, you can be a little bit more. I think a lot of people come from a good place in wanting to jump into coaching. Maybe some don't. They say like, oh, they think it's easy money. You know what I mean? And like, I did this show and now I'm going to start coaching people and I'm going to be this famous. And I think if you approach it from that perspective, it's probably not. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not gonna pan out. But if you truly like the industry and you find enjoyment in helping people, and you stick around and do it long enough and work with enough people, you will, and treat them right, you will become a good coach. You will become, just like anything. You put in enough reps, and sometimes there's going to be some ugly reps, but those ugly reps are the reps that actually help you to understand, okay, well, I did that, and that didn't look good, and now I gotta go this way. So it's just experience. You got to take the time to, and believe in yourself enough to do that. To say, hey, like, I'm real. I don't know it all, but I'm trying to know it. And so this is that next step. This is how I up the ante, is by saying, yes, yes, let's fucking do it. And it's sink or swim. And if you sink, you're gonna have to figure out a way to fucking rebuild the boat and try it again. And that's what we all done. That's what we all done.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, did you have anything else? That was like a perfect ending sentiment. Unless you have something else.
No, I think we'll wrap it up there. 45 minutes in. So yeah, we'll close this one out. Thanks for everybody for sticking around. If you made it this far, make sure you like the video, give us a sub if you haven't already. You got any questions, comments, anything, drop it down in the comments, and then we will see you on the next one.
Yes, we appreciate y'all, man. See ya.